All right, wrestling fans, welcome. We are 2 days removed from the Winter is Coming, basically pay-per-view on TNT television, and we're here to recap it. Normally, we're here to recap the Wednesday Night War, but this time it wasn't really much of a war. AEW slaughtered NXT as far as viewership and ratings. I know I cared way more about AEW, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
Danny, let's go. NXT first.
All right, NXT starts with Damian Priest with Leon Ruff taking on the team of Legado del Fantasma after basically Damian Priest inserted himself into the match to ensure that Leon Ruff made it to take over this Sunday. So there you have it. The biggest takeaway from this, I mean, they got the win. Leon Ruff actually got the win.
Mm-hmm.
And biggest takeaway from this is sadly now there's more ghost faces following around Johnny Gargano. So now there's two of them, and maybe it's the starting of a heel stable for Mr. Gargano. We'll see. The two guys seemed not very big, unless if they were crouching down. Their heads. He was sitting down, and the two heads were hovering like right above him, menacingly in the back in the NXT fans.
Right. So I'm trying to think who they might have signed recently or who maybe hasn't been used in a while that might be the masked people.
He did sign two of the Rascals. I forgot where they're from. They're from the indie scene. They literally just posted about their new recruiting class, and two of those guys were in that class. And
I did notice that.
Maybe they just go straight into. They don't have to do the whole trainee bit, and they kind of strap a rocket to them and link them to Gargano. We'll see.
We'll see.
Then we had Cameron Grimes versus I don't remember the guy's name. It was one of Thatcher's students, and Grimes get the win. Of course, he gets the cave-in done. He comes out and starts teasing. He came out with his own leather strap this week. Teasing. He beat the guy up a little bit, reffed him up, and then tossed him out of the ring. And he was like cutting a promo at the same time. And then when he went to drag the guy back in, he was facing the camera, and the guy that he dragged in was Dexter Lumis. And then he crapped his pants as he usually does and legged it.
Yeah, that was one of the cooler spots on the show, I thought.
Well, and usually Dexter Lumis being creepy always, gets a thumbs up for me. Then we had Tony Nese versus Jake Atlas. A filler match is what that was.
Yep. It's a shame they're getting wasted as filler matches, but okay.
Yeah. After Jake Atlas got the win, this is what they're doing with this man. They keep giving him these big wins over previous 205 Live champions or Cruiserweight champions. And they put him up against Santos Escobar, and then he loses. So maybe there's a storyline there. I don't want to see that match again.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm with you.
I don't know what to do about it anymore. Then somewhat saved the night. Pat McAfee came out, cut a promo. It was fantastic. He's great. I don't think they give him a script. I just think he says whatever the hell he wants. I
agree. It doesn't seem very scripted at all.
Nope. He stumbles every once in a while, but he recovers really quick, and he's using those podcasting skills to good. He put everybody over in his team. Pete Dunne said a couple words. Pete Dunne did look like he hit the spray tan a little bit too hard.
He's been looking like that lately.
Yeah, and especially when you compared him to the other three, he looked really orange. I don't know. I don't like it. Then they had the Xia Li and Bo torture session. That's what I'm going to call it. Calling it a torture session. They kept this master person that looks like the thing from the movie The Grudge. I don't know what the hell's going on with this entire story. I am intrigued by it, but only barely. They kept making themselves dunk themselves into water, and then they finally finished that. Like, the master was pleased and told them to stand up and rise up. And then when they stood up, They both got hit with kendo sticks in the back, and that was the end of it.
Is this going to be NXT's version of Dark Order now? Like, what's happening?
I don't know. It's just it was torture. It was like NXT's version of torture, and they're slowly starting to make this torture to watch. Then we had what we thought was going to be Everrise versus the Grizzled Young Veterans. Everrise, of course, gets annihilated by Imperium, who returned, and those two teams had a match. Everrise was just disappeared, and
which I'm okay with.
Fine. And but the match ended in a DQ because Everrise came back and attacked them both. So
triple threat.
I don't know if that's going to be a takeover match. I don't need to see Everrise kindly ever again. So, I'm brutal, but I don't care for them. They're not doing anything for me.
I don't think they're doing anything for anybody, but continue.
Maybe themselves, because then after they did that, they were really proud of themselves, and then drove off, and Kenzie was in the back and was like trying to catch up with them, and all they said was "Everrise rules" and ran away like in their car.
That was actually kind of funny.
I was like, are we doing like an O'Doyle rules type of thing? Like from, never mind. Then we had a brawl between Mr. Thatcher and Champa. That was awesome. Thatcher just choked him out, left him in the ring. That was pretty cool. And I'm really excited for that match.
I'm excited for the match, but I don't know. They didn't really need to do that or anything for it. It was neither here nor there for me, but that's just my opinion.
That's fair. And then we finished out the night with Shotzi Blackheart versus Raquel Gonzalez in a ladder match for the advantage at War Games. And solid match. Ladder matches are always fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
They're never boring. They look like they hurt a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they take years off of your life, I'm pretty sure.
And for some reason, us sick fans like seeing that.
We do. We enjoy. See, that's the torture porn that we like.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, people. It's not hard.
Yeah.
And it ended. It looked like it was going to end with Raquel Gonzalez getting the win, but out of nowhere, as she's climbing the ladder, Io Shirai comes on to the top rope, leaps onto Raquel Gonzalez's back, kind of chokes her out and gets her to the floor, chucks her out of the ring, and then does this crazy dive onto everyone who has spilled out onto ringside at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And Shotzi picked up the advantage. She climbed the ladder, got the briefcase, and now we officially can say that Io Shirai is on the team, and we've got our War Games ready to go.
Yes, we do. We all kind of saw Io Shirai coming, but
it was the only other option.
Still a cool spot seeing her moonsault onto everybody.
That never sucks.
Never sucks. But anyway, that was NXT. They, in my opinion, smartly did not try to compete with AEW this week. They just did a normal show. And
you're not gonna. You have your own pay-per-view on Sunday that AEW does not. Mm-hmm. So outperform, over-deliver on that.
Right. Save it all for Sunday.
Mm-hmm. And then we had our 2-hour pay-per-view on TNT.
Mm-hmm. Which I must say, one of the best 2 hours of a wrestling show I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, very much I can't remember the last time I looked forward to a singles wrestling match since Rock Cena in 2012.
Mm.
That was the last time I looked forward to a one-on-one wrestling match as an adult that much. I look forward to events. I look forward to WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, any takeover, any AEW pay-per-view, but not.
Didn't we also get? Was it one of the Undertaker Triple H matches that night too?
End of an era, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I was actually really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, And I mean, yeah, that's true. Any Undertaker match, but any Undertaker match is like an event. But I'm just saying, just a straight classic one-on-one wrestling match for a world title that you're not 100% sure who's going to win. I can't remember the last. I mean, Cena versus Rock, even though it wasn't for a title, but kind of felt like a title match. And before that, I mean, I can't think. I'm like Goldberg versus Kevin Nash. I don't know. A taser match. What else? Yeah, like it's hard to think. Oh, Austin versus Rock.
The taser match. Don't stop it.
Yeah.
Still hurts. Still
Austin,
hurts my feelings.
Austin versus Rock, WrestleMania X7. That's the other last time before that. So yeah, my point is I was very much looking forward to the Moxley Omega match, and that wasn't even the biggest moment of the night.
No, it was not.
No, it was not.
We did kick off festivities with the what was it, the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal that
Yes.
this is its second incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of stories inlaid into that match. It's pretty cool to see. We got one of the cooler spots of the match was Hangman Adam Page got chucked out, but then all of the Dark Order caught him and put him back on the ring. I thought that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. By the way, I have a question. Are they just going to give, like, let's say Orange Cassidy does win it, like that he does beat MJF. So do they just give him a new ring, or do they actually take the ring off of MJF and give it to Orange Cassidy?
That's a really good question.
I don't know if it would be more satisfying. Like, do you collect rings as you go winning these tournaments or these battle royals or whatever?
Maybe. I think potentially MJF with 2 rings would make him even more insufferable, which would be hilarious.
I would be okay with that because it's not really a world title, but it's just something you can add to him to make him even more obnoxious.
Yeah, and I actually think he takes it. One thing I will get on the downside of me just being a wrestling nerd.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing that finish that somebody has been outside of the ring and wasn't officially eliminated way too much.
Yeah, it happens every battle royal. Like
it happens every time now, and it's we've beaten that to the ground. It's done.
I agree.
Because I mean, we literally had that like 2 weeks ago that Lana did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody else did it with like another 2 weeks prior to that. Like in a span of a month and a half, we've gotten the same finish 3 times. Different companies, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Both need to listen to this and be like, stop it.
I agree. It's been beaten to death. We expected every battle royal, and it's getting old.
Yep.
Be more creative.
Right. Unless if it's Santino Marella, I don't want to see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unless it's exactly. Unless it's something funny.
It was the Miz. He did that. That was the other one. I just remembered.
Right. You're right.
Stupid. Okay. You got my point.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think we went to shoot. I don't remember if it was Jericho Kazarian. Were they next?
I'm not sure if they were next. But let's pretend they were.
Yeah, I think they were second. Solid match all around. Mm-hmm. The ending had some shenanigans, as usual. Anything with the Inner Circle. It did. The match itself, I didn't really care for. It didn't do anything for me. I kind of figured that Jericho was going to pick up the win. He did. He won clean. All the storytelling around it with the Inner Circle is what made it enjoyable for me. Because it looked like, Kazarian was going to win, and then MJF came out there with the towel, and he was going to throw it in, and he had that same fucking face that he had when he did it to Cody. Mm-hmm. And then, Sammy Guevara got out there, and he ripped the towel from him. But then when Jericho got up, he saw Sammy Guevara with the towel. So, naturally,
yep,
was like, what the hell, man? You don't believe in your leader type of thing?
A lot of layers to that MJF Inner Circle story.
And then after the match, they all just, started shoving each other, and Sammy Guevara and MJF got into it, and then Jericho finally grabbed the mic, and he was a very angry dad. He was like, very much like my dad when AJ and I used to fight as kids. It was like, you guys have to stop this. And he basically, he laid it out there. Next week, they either figure out they can get their shit together or that the inner circle's done. They're all breaking up.
Which is probably not going to happen. So
no, I think they'll keep their shit together for a little while longer. I don't think they're going to implode this fast. I think it eventually leads, given how Jericho was the one that did this, I think it leads to Jericho being a good guy at some point. I don't know if Guevara goes with him or if the bigger play here is Guevara is actually working with MJF to like give him the boot. To give Jericho the boot.
Yeah, so that ultimately, that they're kind of swerving all of us, that ultimately MJF and Sammy take over.
Yeah.
And then thus making Jericho a face. I think that's more believable than Sammy Guevara becoming a babyface. Although Sammy Guevara has gotten babyface reactions from the crowd. And I don't know, I'd be curious to see him as a good guy.
Plus, that like whole shtick that he does, that he comes out with the cue cards when they're in picture, and he just like it's great TV. I love it. He hasn't done that in a while, and it makes me sad. Yeah,
he should bring that back. But yeah, getting yourself over on your own without a script, hell of a concept.
Yeah, it's long-term storytelling. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'd be down for either. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Either way, I think it eventually leads to Jericho getting ousted from the group.
Yeah, or just he leaves on his own. Like, just pieces out once he finds out that, maybe he finds out that they're working in cahoots and want him out, and he just, tells them to shut the hell up. Well, after that, we had Dr. Britt Baker versus Leyla Hirsch. What did you think of that?
I think it was a nice little match. I think Britt showed some of her in-ring skill that she has, that I think people forget that she has. So that was cool to see. And Thunder Rosa, of course, coming in at the end. Obvious that they're going to continue that feud and eventually have a match.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Thunder Rosa is actually really, really badass.
Yeah, she is. And I'm very much looking forward to that, and looking forward to more possible crossover between, them and NWA, or them and TNA with the women. But
that is pretty stacked. But yeah, we'll talk about that.
We'll get to the crossover part later.
Yeah, we'll talk more crossovers later. Yeah, I thought that match was solid. And I think they layered in potentially maybe Leyla Hirsch, Thunder Rosa, maybe have a tag team match between her, Britt Baker, and Rebel, Reba. I don't know what her name is. They keep switching it on me every week.
I know. It's Rebel. It's Rebel on Instagram, so I'm going to go with that.
Oh, okay. Well, there's that.
Yeah.
It's like Tony Schiavone has screwed it up so many times, and so has JR, that I don't know her real name. But yeah, solid. Maybe you can get some tag team matches out of that, or 2 different single stories out of there. Who knows? Then we had Cody Rhodes, Darby Allin versus Team Taz, which was Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks, with Taz obviously accompanying them.
Yes. A lot of talent in the ring, number 1. Number 2, great match. And number 3, it led to a moment that none of us saw coming. I genuinely did not see it coming. I saw the music hit at the end. Everything went dark. I'm like, okay, somebody's debuting. And then it showed the bird at one point in the video. I'm like, is it Raven? Like, who's debuting? And then it showed Sting on the screen, and I popped just like everybody there at Daly's place. I think I woke up a couple of neighbors. It was, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I've watched it like 50 times since then.
I had a tear in my eye when it happened. I'm not gonna lie.
I believe you.
I'm man enough to say it.
Hearing Tony Schiavone yell, "It's Sting," took me back to being 13 again and watching an episode of Nitro.
Yeah, it just hit all my nostalgia feels, everything. It was just perfect. One of those moments in pro wrestling that you just appreciate so much when you're a fan.
And there was so much about it. Like, first of all, his new music, awesome. I know because I've gone back and watched it like 57 times. Love his new music. Love the snowfall was perfect. The gray hair.
Nobody knew that he was the winter that was coming. Who knew?
The gray hair with the snow, it just, even though it makes him look old as hell, it looked cool. And then, of course, there was the stare down with Cody, which the announcers...
We didn't even talk about the finish of that match. We don't even care. But
who cares?
Darby Allin actually got the win over that team.
Yeah, he did.
And Ricky Starks, because Ricky Starks cannot beat Darby Allin.
Right.
He never has. I don't think he ever will. I liked it.
Right. And that was great, but it gets overshadowed by the much bigger picture.
He does. He's got a face off with every single person that was in that ring. Well, Team Taz just booked it. They were like,
yeah. I like the little stare down he had with Cody, because Cody, it's well documented that he grew up a diehard Sting fan, as I did, as I know you did. So It's almost like Sting was looking directly at us.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, his stare down with Darby Allin was,
he's got history. He had a stare down with Arn Anderson. That was cool too.
That was every stare down he had.
Those two have history.
Yeah.
And he stared down Dustin Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
That was more short-lived. It was like, you wear face paint.
Yeah, too. You're a face paint guy. Yeah, I know you.
And then he had a proper, stare down with Darby Allin, because everybody else just kind of like just nodded, I guess, and he gave him like the Tyler Hero face.
Yeah, and it's all like you can tell it's going to be an eventual passing of the torch to Darby Allin, which is insane because that shows you what he thinks of Darby Allin.
It shows what the company thinks of this kid.
Right, what the company thinks of him. And he's, 23 years old?
Yeah. See, and I thought that maybe he would eventually get a passing of the torch from Jeff Hardy. Maybe he still gets that too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Because he has actually said that is his dream match is him versus Jeff Hardy. And he reminds me so much of him that,
it makes sense.
I would love that match.
We may see a man die in that match, but it makes sense.
As long as it's not Darby. I'm kidding. Yeah. Kidding. Wish Jeff Hardy all the best. And then, we got the man that Sting. He did his thing, stare down, then he left. Bad guys chased off. Success. And then we had our main event.
Yes, sir. We had Kenny Omega against John Moxley.
Your thoughts on that?
Good match. Wouldn't give it a 5-star. Wouldn't give it a 5-star or anything like that, but it was a cool match. I loved the part with them sitting in the middle of the ring on steel chairs, slapping each other.
Yes.
That was very John Moxley. It was just a very violent match. And then towards the end, Kenny Omega just went into V-trigger mode. It's like he had 19 finishers stored up and he just kept hitting the L button.
Love that reference.
Yeah, and I don't know how he didn't. Maybe he did concuss Moxley because some of those were pretty stiff. Or he's just so good he makes them look stiff. I don't know.
That one that Moxley took when he dove out of the ring, that one looked pretty rough.
Mm-hmm. No, half of them looked pretty rough. Again, that's why Omega is just that good. He lays into his stuff and makes it look that real, which is why I think he's the best wrestler on the planet.
I think it's safe to say that the best bout machine is back.
Oh yeah, and I saw a lot of criticism of him online. I'm like, these nerds. Like he didn't push him. He's one of the guys that helped start the company. Of course, he's not going to push himself to the top of the card right away.
No,
you know what I mean,
and none of them really did, right? Like,
no. To be fair, none of them really did.
They waited. The Bucks waited until now.
Mm-hmm.
They waited until now for Omega. They pulled the trigger a little earlier on Cody, but right off the bat, he's not allowed to challenge for the world title ever. So
they made a new title for him.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, we rode ourselves into a corner."
Yeah, no, that they probably always had plans for a secondary title eventually, so that was the perfect time to do it. But yeah, the best bout machine is back, and then
the ending was screwy. If it wasn't for that little injury spot that they did, that they like pretended that Kenny was out because he hit a heater because it was 40 degrees in Daly's place. Holy hell!
Little nippy
to be
wrestling outside, to be shirtless.
Yeah, to be shirtless and or in trunks. Yikes. So yeah, that was screwy, but it allowed Don Callis, that's his name, right? Don Callis?
I believe so, yes.
Don Callis to come ringside because he was on commentary prior to check on Kenny Omega because he's known Kenny Omega since he was 10 years old and that whole thing.
Yeah, and I was actually listening to Wrestle Talk's recap of it yesterday, and they brought up a great point. Like and I liked how they did it, that they just the whole third man, like who's the guy helping Omega, they hid it in plain sight this whole time. It was him all along.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was cool writing. It swerved me. Like I kind of figured it out when he came, like when he's talking about Omega and really propping him up during the match. I'm like, oh, maybe it's Callis, and sure enough, it was. So
Callis, was out there, and Kenny kind of cheated to get the win, which was great for his heel turn. Full heel, love it.
And then them just scooting out of the building and everybody yelling at them.
Scooted out of the building, and I don't know why. There was really no reason for them to, because Don Callis didn't really do anything to really help Kenny. So I don't know why he was being yelled at.
Well,
per se.
I don't know if it was executed the right way, but I didn't really notice it until like they made it sound like, oh, he slid him the microphone. It just kind of fell to his feet. It was just kind of there and he grabbed it. I think they tried to make it seem like, oh, he was distracting everybody, like Moxley, the ref, so he could pass him the microphone. I think that's what the intention was. It didn't look like that's what happened. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, it looked like it had fallen out of his hands, and maybe that is true. Either way, they scooted out of the building real fast, and Alex Marvez was out by the car as usual. They keep him out in the parking lot. Apparently, this guy, he's got an office out there, and they're just like, here's a camera guy, and whoever comes out here, you talk to him.
Yeah, but Dynamite's on Wednesday.
Don't come inside.
Yeah,
exactly. But Dynamite's on Wednesday. Yeah, it was silly, but it got the point across.
And cemented the fact that there will be some crossovers, and
AEW's world champion is going to be on Impact to address what happened. So cool.
I love it. I mean, it's what I've been missing from my wrestling life as a fan, like some kind of crossover. I remember when
I'm going to put this into the universe, and I want Kenny Omega to reunite with the Good Brothers.
They might. And
just go out there and congratulate him. I don't need more than that.
I would love it. I would love to see Motor City Machine Guns feud with FTR because they tweeted at each other as soon as this all happened. I would love to see the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks and just the possible.
FTR tweeted also. All they wrote was, I don't know if it was Cash or the other one, Dax. Mm-hmm. I forgot which one it was, but they simply tweeted the North. I was like, sweet. I don't know who in the right mind is going to interrupt Kenny Omega on Tuesday. Speaking of people that don't have the right mind, Eric Young is on that brand.
Isn't EC3 on that brand? Is he still signed with them?
I don't know. That might have been short-lived.
You're right.
You got guys like Moose that are over there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few recently picked up WWE guys over there. So
there are.
It'll be fun.
And like we said earlier, their women's division is stacked.
Yep. So absolutely stacked.
Endless possibilities there.
And they're in maybe that's how we're going to get a women's tag team. Maybe they're currently in the midst of doing a tag team knockouts tournament.
Right.
And we'll leave you on a funny little bit. Apparently Hornswoggle's taken credit for the whole thing.
That was great.
Because he was in the Las Vegas skit with the Inner Circle, and he just recently returned to Impact and was imitating AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Which looked hilarious.
Did go back and watch it after you mentioned it to me. It was hilarious.
I'm sure he was very in character.
Yeah. But overall, man, Winter is Coming was absolutely phenomenal. And
probably best show of 2020? Best Dynamite of 2020?
Best Dynamite of all time, for sure. Best show of 2020, as far as hitting all of my right buttons and giving me all the feels. Yeah, I think it was.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely my top show of 2020.
And how cool is it to, such a crappy year that we've had, to start it with Edge's return and end it with Sting's return.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, if you can believe it, Edge's return was this year, although it feels like 20 years ago.
This year has been 3 or 4 years combined. Or 10.
So, I don't know. I don't know. What is a calendar? I don't know. What is time?
So, yeah. We'll leave it there, wrestling fans.
Yeah. So, like, share, and subscribe. Leave comments. Do you like our videos? Great. If you don't, I don't care. Hit the like button anyway.
Like it. Comment.
Yes.
Let us know what you like.
Let us know what you like.
We can change up this format. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. And we are now on the socials under the same name. Scoop on the Slam.
Under the same name. Insta.
Twitter. Twitter. And working on eventually a Facebook, but not yet. So Twitter and Instagram for now. And that'll be it for us. We'll do a recap show, obviously, of War Games at some point.
Yeah. We will. And we'll have a Friday edition of SmackDown.
Oh, that's right. We do still have SmackDown. Yeah, this week's been such a blur. All right. So
it's Friday, John.
It is Friday. We do have SmackDown tonight. That's right. Right after this, I'll watch it. So yeah, until then, see you guys.
See ya.